15 is business from the Council President, and sort of become my custom lately to try to bring issues before the public that are sometimes floating out at the national and the local levels without a lot of input. The biggest problem that we see in a lot of these things, and people have heard the comments of fake news and other issues like that, one that's before everybody's radar is climate change. And but few people are invested in the effort to actually investigate what the research is on climate change. The real change in the climate is a result of the sunspots on the sun, and the frequency of those explosions of sunspots and the actual amount of heat that reaches the earth warms the water in the oceans. And that's why when we have the oscillation of warm parts of the ocean, for example, Scotland, which is northern by latitude above Maine, is warm all year round because of the flow of ocean currents that are carrying the warm water past Scotland and heating up that part of the environment. They didn't have automobiles in 1440, and we didn't have industries with smokestacks in 1440, but those climate changes occur over millennium, hundreds of thousands of times through the creation of the earth, and have very little to do with the explosion of carbon dioxide or other pollutants into the air.
Hello, my name is Deanna Harkins. I'm a local resident. I'm also a scientist and a physician. I have an MD degree, a Master's in Public Health degree, and a Bachelor's in Science degree from the University of Minnesota. My specialty training is in occupational and environmental medicine and toxicology research. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. If you don't accept climate change based on the consilience of evidence, if you don't accept climate change based on the conclusions of greater than 97.5% of climate scientists, I urge you to think about considering a person with a bachelor's in physics from Harvard and a PhD in astrophysics from Columbia. What about them? You might have heard of Neil deGrasse Tyson, who has a book out. He has gone on record as stating, people who deny human-induced climate change are badly misinformed. This position is neither politically liberal nor conservative. It's factual. Although one could argue that all those who want to preserve the environment are the real conservatives in the discussion. If you don't accept climate change, how about considering a U.S. Naval Academy graduate with a bachelor's degree in engineering who did graduate work in nuclear physics, who won a Nobel Peace Prize, who was a diplomat, a Christian, and served as the 39th President of the United States, Mr. Jimmy Carter. Some of you might have seen this in the newspaper this past Sunday, an article, an interview of him titled Building a Better World. In it, he is quoted as saying, climate change and global warming, as well as nuclear destruction, those are the two things that concern me most. If you don't accept climate change, how about considering the Medical Society Consortium on Climate Change and Health, of which I'm a member in here tonight? It was launched in 2017. The consortium has grown rapidly and now comprised of at least 20 medical societies, including some of America's largest and most influential societies that represent over half of the physicians in America right now. That's over 500,000 physicians. This includes the American Medical Association, the American College of Physicians, the American Academy of Family Physicians, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Geriatric Society, the American College of Preventive Medicine, and I could go on, but I'd like to mention two specific to Maryland. The Maryland Academy of Family Physicians has signed on. as well as MedChi. You might know them as the Maryland State Medical Society, as well as the American Academy of Pediatrics Maryland chapter. Again, just to name a few. The consortium was launched specifically to start a conversation with the American public and policymakers about the health harms of climate change.
Try to come to your conclusion in a moment, please.
Do I have 5 minutes because I'm a member of the consortium?
We'll give you another minute.
Thank you. And the health benefits of climate solutions and to build support for solutions. They just released a report that's accessible, and I have a copy if any of you'd like to read it, called Medical Alert, Climate Change is Harming Our Health. It states that we're sounding the alarm, that climate change poses a risk to the health of every American. It talks about the experts agreeing that it's real, it's us, meaning human-caused, it's bad. It talks region by region about how already climate change is harming our health now, with regard to health effects from health extremes such as heat stress and stroke, particularly affecting diabetics. With regard to extreme events, we all know these: floods, hurricanes, storms, and drought. This not only affects injury, drowning, immediate effects, but also affects water supplies and food supplies. In our region, it also goes over how there's been a rise in tick-borne disease, such as Lyme. This is happening now, as well as outdoor air quality, such as increase in smog in allergen seasons, which can result in respiratory and cardiovascular effects. It states that some face a greater risk. Vulnerable populations. Our elderly are very young. Our folks that live with already have chronic diseases, and those that are in social economic disadvantaged situations. It states that unless we do concerted action, it's going to get much worse, but it ends on a positive note, and I'd like to emphasize that there's hope and that it's solvable, stating that the most important action we can do is to reduce heat-trapping pollution, reduce our energy waste, and accelerating the inevitable transition to clean, renewable energy. And just to finish, if you don't accept climate change based on any of that, I'd like to consider me. I'm a local resident. I'm concerned about our county. Me, a scientist who weighs the evidence and was even a climate-leaning denier for quite a bit of time there. I've concluded climate change is bad for our planet and bad for our health. And finally, me as a physician who's taken the Hippocratic Oath, first to do no harm.
You're way past your time limit, ma'am. Please come to a conclusion.
Okay, I will. I have a duty to protect people from further harm to their health by taking steps to address climate change. This is why I'm here tonight. And finally, I leave you with a useful way to think about it. What's good for our climate is good for our health, and what's good for our health is good for our climate. Thank you, and I'm happy to share any of the resources I mentioned. Thank you for your time.